This is Drugs, Crime, and Politics, brought to you by the Drug Policy Forum of Texas. We're here tonight. Buford's not here, so I'm kind of going on my seat of the pants. I'm usually over there with Brenda. We're here tonight with Brenda. We have somebody new here. Want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Brenda?
Yes. My name is Brenda Walker. I'm a native Houstonian, and I've lived here virtually all my life. It's a lovely city, and whenever I haven't lived in the city, I've lived just on the exterior of the city, mainly on the north side, and now I'm on the south side.
Okay.
Very nice.
Well, first of all, we want to talk tonight about what the internet conversation with President Obama,
Okay.
led by Leap. Marijuana was the most asked question, drug problems.
Yes, it was.
And
Yes.
again, President Obama kind of laughed us off, said it's time to debate it, to talk about it.
Yes.
You know, with legislation in 15 states right now, we have already 15 states that have authorized marijuana, plus Washington, D.C.
That is correct.
So we're past the debate.
We are, and I think the people are ready for the war to be over with. It's a 40-year failed war, and
40.
or more than that.
1937.
Yes, over 40 years of a failed war, and we're just ready for it to be over.
Yes, everybody is speaking up about it. You know, this is your program. We want you to call in. Anything you want to know, we'll try to tell you about it, whether we know it or not. President Obama, he used marijuana. He used cocaine.
Yes, he did.
He said he inhaled marijuana, but yet he's willing to let his children face the consequences of drug prohibition. I don't understand it.
I didn't understand it either. I think that, in my opinion, from my perspective, we just need to really re-educate our children, because all of the propaganda, if you will, that's being taught in the schools is not it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's doing the opposite. So, you know,
The DARE program.
yes.
Dare we tell on our parents? Isn't
Dare
that what
we?
it's for?
Yes.
Well, I think it's gone much beyond debate. We have 30 states that are looking at marijuana, 15 that already have it. The American public has already spoken out.
Yes,
It's our, I like to call them our unrepresentatives. I mean, look at, I'll talk about mine, the one in my district, Dwayne Bohack. I've talked with him for the last 4, 5, 6 years. I finally got him to say that he, on his annual questionnaire, that he would ask if citizens thought that people should have the right to be able to have legal access to marijuana. And he didn't put it in there, didn't call me, and then when I found it, I had to chase after him, and I got 3 lies.
Why am I not surprised?
I think it's politics as usual.
It sounds like it to me.
There is legislation going on in so many states. I like to speak about Connecticut. Rhode Island is 2 of the big ones right now that's going on. Connecticut has a bill for decriminalization, and they have a bill for medical marijuana.
Yeah, that's great.
And for the last 3 legislative sessions, their governor has vetoed the bill. And this new governor says, please put it on my desk. Somebody who listens to the people.
Somebody who listens to the people is exactly what we need. More of that.
Rhode Island is doing a wonderful job. They will allow a person to grow for themselves, plus
That's
3 other
awesome.
people, 6 plants per person.
That's wonderful.
And it gives somebody enough marijuana that they can have it without running out.
And that's a good thing. And cannabis is a member of the hemp family, which is used for more than just medicinal purposes. Cannabis is for relaxation and medicinal purposes, and is the safest form of recreation
That's
that
not
we
hemp,
have.
that's marijuana.
Yes, that's marijuana. The hemp part of it is the seeds are the most generous seeds whenever it comes to oil production. They outproduce soy. And it's very useful for the hemp diesel fuel. It could literally it has in the past saved the forest from being just destroyed because it's a triennial crop. And it's just used in so many different good things.
Also, industrial hemp has what they call CBDs. It's a cannabinoid. And that cannabinoid is being studied all through Europe right now as a adjutant that takes cancerous cells out of your body. It
That's
searches
wonderful.
out tumor cells.
That's
and
wonderful.
it helps to destroy them.
Cannabis has been used medicinally, I mean, way before we got here. It has so many medicinal purposes for anti-nausea. There's been queens that have used it for the female problems. Several queens have done that. Queen Elizabeth
there's
II.
recorded history from back 5,000 years ago. It was used for childbirth. It was an aromatherapy, plus it was an astringent. It relieved the pain. It was directly put on to the vagina, and it relieved the pain of childbirth.
And it's a great pain reliever in more ways than one.
We don't mind me for being a little bit slow. The professor's just so much better at leading the program than I am.
You're doing fine.
Next thing we probably need to talk about, what was it that he wanted us to talk about?
The internet.
What?
Okay. What we've been discussing on the internet, how hemp has been a part of the foundation of this country. Even in Houston, if you're ever at Allen's Landing, there's an actual, how do you put this, where you dock the boats, you come up the ship channel, and there are actual little places where they used to unload things, and hemp rope is one of them. Hemp rope has outfitted our wonderful ship, Old Ironsides, and that we used Manila hemp to outfit that. Sailors' clothes were made out of it. Their shoes. Yes, and for the sails. As a matter of fact, cannabis, the word cannabis comes from the word canvas, which, you know, the sails are made
I don't think it comes from the word canvas. Cannabis has been around a lot longer than canvas, a lot longer.
Well, okay. It was just in my research that's what I found out.
Oh, well, maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to have to check this out.
All the canvases used to be made out of hemp from the pulp. It's awesome. They used to use the fibers from hemp to create molds to make things whenever they were using building materials to make people's homes.
Well, if you go to hemp for using to build a home, they can take hemp, the industrial, and they take it and they make shards out of it, chunks, and they glue it all together. And then they use that to make 2x4s, 2x6s, plywood. And once they use that, the material actually gets harder with age.
Yes. Yes, it's great.
It's a natural insecticide. You'll never have any cockroaches, ants in your home.
It's awesome.
So it has plenty of uses.
Over 5,000 different uses. Over 5,000 different industrial uses from hemp and the cannabis, you know, all of them put together. They have over 5,000 different uses. The cannabis has the ability to shrink, like you said earlier, it shrinks tumors. It combats depression. It's the best pain reliever that I'm aware of without having to go to chemicals. It's wonderful.
Well, cannabis is such a great thing. The state of Georgia uses forfeitures from cannabis. It has actually outfitted all their canines, pays for it, and it actually pays for their air support for interdiction of cannabis. So police departments are directly benefiting from their law enforcement and forfeitures, which to me is just kind of like sending the fox to watch the henhouse. We're going to take a break right now.
Clay, it's wonderful talking with you.
The whole idea of a drug-free America and zero tolerance really doesn't make much sense, does it? So it does make sense, however, to find ways to reduce the harms associated with drugs. And that's what I want to talk about.
To start thinking about whether it is really laws that make the difference on whether people use drugs or not.
Al Capone didn't shoot people because he was intoxicated.
Right, exactly.
Those people are not fighting over drugs, they're fighting over money.
Drug laws have no basis in science. Drug laws are based on politics and money.
So there's this unholy symbiosis between, on the one hand, those who are selling illegal drugs, the drug lords, if you will, and on the other side, the drug warriors.
War on drugs isn't working, and that, if anything, it's just making what we call the drug problem a lot worse.
Okay, maybe a little of the money I spend on marijuana supports terror and violence.
Right.
And that's because marijuana is illegal.
Exactly.
When I buy a beer, that doesn't support terror because beer is legal, right?
Now you've got it.
So what you're saying is if we make marijuana legal and regulate it like beer, that wouldn't support violence.
Did I say that?
Hi, I'm Ethan Nadelman,
are.
the founder and executive director of the Drug Policy Alliance. You're watching Drugs, Crimes, and Politics. Hope you enjoy it.
Wanted to remind you that this is a telephone call. You can call in with your questions. The phone number tonight, we don't have the equipment to put the number on the screen. It is 713-708-07-1794. There's one thing that is going on. There is a couple of states that are trying to go back against the laws. Montana is one, and there's quite a few places in California that are trying to come back off of the dispensaries. And they're starting to realize how many jobs that are actually affected by this. That in one town, there's over 138 jobs that are going to be affected if they vote to stop the dispensaries and dispensing of the medical marijuana. Between the growers, the dispensaries, the people that work in the dispensaries, there will be 138 jobs lost.
That's a very sad thing, because in this economy, we all need our jobs.
Yes.
And what I would like to see is, I would like to see more and more states get on the wagon with protecting our kids from the drug lords, if you will. That the prohibition of this herb has created. The saddest thing is that we should have the right to choose the type of relaxation or medicines that that we put in our bodies, and we want our children not to just have access to what these drug lords are giving to the children.
There is a very simple solution to that. That is to tax, regulate, and legalize.
Which is what we need to do. Texas needs to get on the bandwagon.
I mean, look at Portugal. They are a prime example of what loosening the drug laws could do. They have less drug addicts than they did 10 years ago. Their drugs are freer. Their crime has gone way down. They have less people in prison.
The purity of the product, we don't have to worry about that.
No, and the thing is if you work last week, you get your drugs at state prices this week. So people have to work, and they still are able to produce and still have their drugs. So drugs is not the culprit that our government is saying that it is, that it prevents people from working, stops job productivity.
It does not do any of that.
Well, in cases it does, but not on all. Our phone number is, again, 713-807-1794. Please call in. It'll make my job a little bit easier here tonight.
Be happy to have the questions. Also, if I may say, at this point in time, there have been over 900 arrests since the beginning of the year. At the state level, they've spent almost $3 billion. At the federal level, it's almost $1.5 billion just since the beginning of the year on this drug war.
Wait a minute. I don't understand your numbers. You said $3 billion statewide?
Almost. The last time I checked.
And only $1.5 billion nationally?
Well, that's on the federal level. Well, it could be like $3 billion total, $2 billion at the state level, and $1 billion at the federal level.
What I was reading today is that
that's a lot of money.
Enforcement is approximately $8 or $9 billion, depending upon whose figures that you look at.
Is that annually?
That's annually.
Okay.
And if we took and didn't do that law enforcement on drug addiction, if we could take that money and turn it around and put it into rehabilitation upon demand. Somebody doesn't need to wait 6 months to go in and finally find a bed so that they can get rid of a heroin addiction or crystal meth or cocaine. When you need rehab, you need it now.
That's right, and which brings me to the next point, that cannabis is not a gateway drug. There
is so many people that say the other. My thing is, I want to know how a Schedule 1 drug, which has no use whatsoever, medically or otherwise, can be a gateway drug and lead you on to a Schedule 2 drug, which is less severe.
Well, I don't have all the answers. My apologies. But
That's the one that I always wondered. I just don't understand how that's a gateway drug to, if it's a worse drug, they're going down to a milder drug by their standards.
Well, from what I understand, the rate of what people call addiction to cannabis is so much lower on the scale than heroin. It's just mind-boggling. If we take these drugs out of the hands of the drug lords and put them in the hands of where they belong, then they will be less available to the children, which is, basically my goal. I believe that cannabis should not be in the same class as heroin or crack cocaine or anything like that, because it is a plant, for goodness sake. There's, and there are just so many different uses for it.
But cocaine is a plant. So isn't heroin.
Well,
that's an LP.
Cocaine comes from a plant, but cocaine itself is not a plant, and you can go back to the drugs that the pharmaceutical. I'm sorry.
It's derived from a plant.
Yes, it's derived from the cocoa plant, but the cocoa plant in its natural state is not cocaine.
No. Oh, no.
And what a lot of folks don't know is that the drugs that are on the market via the pharmaceuticals, those are all made out of plants. And when you take a plant and you change the chemical composition and make it into a pharmaceutical, that's whenever you remove the good properties and you have these additional side effects that are not wanted. That's why there are so many pharmaceutical drugs that people, I forget what the number is, they die annually from heart attacks and things of that nature. And there's not been one death attributed to directly linked to cannabis, and that was from the
True. Nobody has ever died from marijuana. Approximately 17,000 people die from all illicit drugs annually in this country. Approximately 6,000 in Europe.
From the
illicit drugs.
Illicit drugs. Okay.
Anything, all illicit, illegally taken drugs. Aspirins kill more than that. No, they don't. It's about 6,000 to 7,000. So, I mean, it's over-the-counter is almost as bad as pharmaceutical, as illegal drugs. We're talking $7 billion. I got a phone call. Oh, please call in. We're having a little problem tonight. It's me. Our phone number is 713-807-1794. And tonight we're going to talk to somebody from Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. It's approximately about 1,200 miles from here, and it's where I used to live. I lived there for 4 years, and my friends down there are still telling me about how much problems they are having. And I'm supposed to be able to get a hold of a friend of mine. She's Sandy. Didn't do it.
There are also several good organizations. There's LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, which is an awesome organization. There's also, I think it's
there's
MPP.
Drug Sense.
DPFT, yes. All
This is
very
Clay.
good, very good.
We're going to talk to you now. Hold on. Sandy?
Yeah?
Wait, let me get this. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Sandy?
Hi there.
Hi there. This is Sandra Molina. She's from Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. It's a place where I used to live. She is down there. She works for the La Voz, the newspaper down there. And we were going to talk to her tonight about just what life is like in these towns in Mexico where the drug problems are so bad. You there, Sandy? Sandy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us
Hi
what it's
to
like.
everybody in Houston.
Oh, it's getting real cold here. It's icy. So tell us, what's life like down there in Morelia with the drug war going on?
Well, it's somehow it's a very quiet place to live, but sometimes we have these narco problems.
Yeah.
Most of them, they are like people mugging people in the street, but it gets bad at times, you know, when they get kidnapped, or something that is very, very usual nowadays is to get extortion on the phone.
Is there a lot of kidnapping going on down there?
Excuse me?
Is there a lot of kidnapping going on down there?
Yes, there is. There is a new way to kidnap people. It's called express kidnap. They grab you and give you a couple of rides around the blocks, and they take your phone and call everybody you know, saying that you are kidnapped. Then they take your credit card to the ATM. They grab everything they have, and they just turn off the phone of the victim for a minute or for a while, and then they call their spouses or parents or friends and say, hey, we have this person here. You better give me this much money, and you'll see him alive. So, after a couple of hours, if they're lucky, they get to tell that. Sometimes when they resist, or they don't have money, or something goes wrong, they just kill the person. You know, they chop their fingers, or just simply they go to the mountain and then shot them dead and leave them there.
No.
And it's getting really bad.
It's getting really bad down there in Morelia.
Yeah.
What do people do to try to keep themselves safe down there?
Well, we became paranoid mainly because now we don't want to be on the streets when it's night. We used to be, used to be a town with a lot of nightlife. A lot of bars, concerts, things to do at night or during the weekend. And after the grenades, do you remember the incident of the grenades?
Yeah.
On Independence Day, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Then everything just died from there. The streets are very quiet at night, and no one wants to go out. You only go out if you really have to. And you try to dress as modest as you can. You don't bring, any jewelry or a fancy phone or things like that. I think everybody changed after that.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear it down there about that. I used to love living there. We're going to let you go tonight, Sandy. I'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay, Doc.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody in Houston.
Fine.
Bye.
Bye. This is how people have to live down there. She's telling me that She works for the newspaper. She's afraid to say too much other than
I understand.
what life is like.
I understand, yeah. And again, if you'd like to call in, that number is 713-807-1794. Again, it's 713-807-1794. We welcome your calls. And, you know, I just can't help but imagine a better life in Mexico once these prohibition laws are overturned. A greener life for Americans, more jobs, more money, less taxes, and so on and so forth.
They have decriminalized personal use of drugs in Mexico.
Oh, they have?
Yes, they don't want the individuals in jail.
But it's our laws
that's driving all this drugs coming this way.
Yes, that's what I was meaning. So whenever our laws change, then it's going to make it better.
Well, yeah, and we're also, it's just as bad coming in from the north, Canada. You get marijuana coming in from Canada like crazy, just as well as you have that swag junk that they send up from Mexico.
Yeah, I was talking to a gentleman on the internet about hemp, so it was a very interesting conversation. A lot of good information from that.
We'll be right back. I should.
I was calling in regards to House Bill 548, which was introduced in the Texas House of Representatives by Representative Harold Dutton out of Houston. The reason I'm calling is because as a constituent of Senator Watson's, I would like to ask for him to take a look at House Bill 548 and try to put forward a bill in the Senate to do the same type of thing. House Bill 548 would make it a Class C misdemeanor for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana. And with the fiscal crisis that Texas is facing in this legislative session, I've heard it's up to $25 billion. I really think that not locking up nonviolent marijuana possession offenders would be a great way of saving some money and possibly cutting into that budget deficit.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you're watching Drugs, Crime, and Politics.
Tommy Chong.
That's what I thought. Whenever I was a very young lady, somebody put LSD in my drink.
Yes, here we are. We're back from the break. And now, what were you saying now?
Whenever I was a very young lady, we were discussing during the break how the hard drugs are really a difficult problem. And I was a very young lady. I was in my very early 20s. And someone had slipped some LSD into one of my drinks. Now, if they had offered it to me, I would have said no. So I felt like it was such a violation.
Of course it is.
Of me personally.
We got Dean Becker on the line.
Okay.
We'll continue our talk. Hey, Dean, you there?
I am. Clay, how you doing, bud?
Pretty good yourself.
I can't complain. We got the heater working a bit. Like a lot of folks around the country, it's a battle to stay warm, but doing good. I wanted to let you know that we're hoping to schedule the pledge drives coming up on KPFT.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping folks will tune in this coming Sunday evening. Got a couple of great guests. One, Irv Rosenfeld. He's one of 3 or 4 people left who get their marijuana from the United States government. He's got a great book called My Medicine. Talks about his life story, how he became one of those able to acquire that marijuana from United States government. And then we're also going to be talking to Mr. Cliff Schaefer. He's a gentleman who started up much of the news information sharing, if you will, on the internet about the drug war. He has a great site, Drug Library. And we're going to be talking about the push in California and Colorado and other states insofar as striving to get marijuana either legalized or to enhance the medical marijuana laws. But Cliff, he's an old-timer like me, and again, with his history, he's able to really bring focus to bear on the problem. I wanted to let folks know this past week, my shows, which are now online, featured on the Cultural Baggage Show Steve D'Angelo. He's the executive director of Harborside Health Center, the world's largest cannabis distributor. And on the other half hour, Century of Lies, we had Mr. Brenda and Kylie. He's a reporter based up in Seattle. He had a great story recently, Drug War equals Corruption, Violence, and Doom. And then there's also another segment on that same show featuring Mackenzie Allen, former cop, now a member of law enforcement against prohibition. And he was the gentleman whose question was #1 on YouTube. They had following the President's State of the Union, they had asked people to post their questions. And out of tens of thousands of questions, his was #1. And it dealt with asking the President, isn't it time to think about legalization, taking control away from the cartels and the gangs? And thank God President Obama said it is time to talk about that.
Yes.
Well, I think it's far beyond time to talk. There's a lot of action being taken in 15 states already, and there's about 15 more that are going to take action.
Right.
It's gone beyond talk.
But more and more people, average Joes are beginning to talk about it a little bit.
Well, when you have people like Irv Rosenfeld, he's a stockbroker.
He's a stockbroker, Newbridge Securities.
And he smokes some 360 joints a month?
Well, actually, he gets 300 every 25 days. So, I don't know, something over 300, but he smokes 10 or 12 a day. His work lets him take a break, go outside in the courtyard and smoke his marijuana. They have no qualms about that because he's made them millions of dollars because he's a good stockbroker. The marijuana doesn't interfere with his capability whatsoever. And I think Irv's a prime example of disproving the lie about marijuana. That, I don't think that we want kids smoking weed. We don't want people smoking the high grade and immediately jumping in a car. You got to get used to it a little bit. Give it a few minutes to settle into your system. But there are no, series of wrecks caused by people too high on weed and smashing into trees. That's just not how it works.
There's just so many states right now that are trying to do a DUID, driving under the influence of drugs, trying to do more legislation for it.
Well, right, and this is another example of the ignorance and the hypocrisy that's involved around marijuana in particular, that things people don't understand they're afraid of, and therefore they're afraid of pot smokers, so let's box their lives in any way we can. And the truth be told, that it's not the marijuana smokers that are beating their wives or starving their kids or
that's the truth.
Crashing into trees.
That's the truth. That's the exact truth.
That's that alcohol, I think.
America's favorite drug, I guess.
Drug of pastime.
Yep.
So, Mr. Becker, can I ask you about the constitutionality of the prohibition laws that are in place at this time? Are they constitutionally correct?
Well, I've asked many attorneys about that and done a study of my own, and the truth be told, if you think back to the alcohol prohibition, it was necessary for them to amend the U.S. Constitution before they declared it illegal. They then had to amend it again to put it back into the marketplace. But the fact of the matter is, for these so-called controlled substances, they are held under the Commerce Clause to be illegal simply because they say they want to control the distribution But the truth be told, they have denied the distribution. They have turned the distribution over to criminals, barbarians, and terrorists. And
I think that's the saddest part. Really, I do.
well, it's got a lot of sad parts to it, I'll tell you that. And the truth of it is, no, I don't think it is constitutional, but the U.S. Supreme Court has actually stated that there is an exception to the Constitution for drug laws, you know, violations, that somehow it's so immoral that, you know, you have to fight it no matter the other cost, the blowback, the spin-off, the horrors inflicted by the policy.
Now, 2 weeks ago, I wasn't here at the program. I was bailing a very good friend of mine out of jail. He had gotten busted the night before. He's a man that's 60 years old. He's got a body of a man that's 80, 85. And the police came in there. He has 8 plants, had 8 plants. They knocked his door down, threw in a flashbang grenade, and I'm starting to find out that's becoming a little bit more common in the way they're doing this.
Clay, that's another exception to our civil rights. Again, you mentioned the word drugs, and anything goes. Truth be told, drug users are considered to be unconditionally exterminable, much like Jews in Nazi Germany, that anything goes as long as you can stop the flow. And again, the flashbang grenade, what was he going to do, eat the plants? What was he going to do, flush them down the toilet? No, it was just a way they could use their toys. They could feel manly, if you will.
It took 12 of them to take the guy down.
Yeah, the bravado is astounding, isn't it?
Oh, yes. And then after they took him to jail, they destroyed his home. They took everything and dumped it on the ground, turned chairs, beds, dressers, all upside down, emptied out all the drawers, threw all the drawers in a pile after they were empty, just to destroy everything the man had.
Right, sending a message, so to speak, which is what the whole drug war is about, is sending a message to, I guess, the next door neighbor or the family or the friends that if you're doing the same, you'll get the same.
Right.
And we have to stop and think about this. What's more harmful, smoking a little weed or empowering terrorists? What's more harmful, you know, growing a few plants or empowering Shorty Guzman, the cartel barbarian, you know?
Yep.
Smoking a little weed or enriching the U.S. violent gangs. Their morals are shot right through the head.
It is taking such a great toll on society, and it's breaking my heart to see. But Mr. Becker, it just seems to me like it's a one-sided war. People that smoke pot don't, you know, plan attacks against the law enforcement that use these spy tactic means to invade our privacy. You know, we're not seeking out to do anybody any harm. It just seems like it's a one-sided war.
It is.
It is. It's a war against logic and reason, war against common sense and reality itself.
It's a war against people.
Yeah, it's has no basis in logic. It really doesn't. I mean, it's all based on a fable, a horror story that was spread 100 years ago, and that too many people came to believe, and it's actually become a quasi-religion of drug war. That no matter the facts, no matter the truth, the reality, I'm not going to stand for that because it's wrong. And the truth be told, you know, alcohol, you know, we were talking about 100,000 dead every year. Tobacco, 400,000 dead. Prescription drugs, 100,000 die every year. Doctors and pharmacists messing up our prescriptions, 100,000 dead every year. Hospital infections, 100,000 dead every year. All hard drugs combined equals about the number for aspirin and Tylenol. And as you all know, marijuana has never killed anybody. It has no basis in reality.
That's true.
Well, Dean, thanks for calling us tonight. And
Clay, if I could, I'd like to share my website.
Sure.
There are hundreds of my shows on my website featuring interviews with judges, congressmen, scientists, doctors, lawyers, authors, prisoners, patients, providers, and priests. That's all available at drugtruth.net. And again, this coming Sunday, you can listen live to KPFT, which is 90.1 FM here in Houston. Or if you're elsewhere, you can listen online at kpft.org. And the shows start at 6:30 Sunday evening. And I appreciate the chance to talk with your viewers.
And can I ask you just one more question, Mr. Becker?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel that it's unfair for our children to be put into the middle of this war whenever it's a war that none of us have asked for?
Well, certainly. I mean, the truth of the matter is that there are situations where a gentleman got caught up in Indiana, I think it was, with a bag of weed in a drawer, and the cops found candy in that same drawer, and they charged him with child endangerment. You know, this war is designed to, quote, protect the children until they turn 17, when they then become meat, drug war grinders.
It's not protecting them at all.
Never has, and never will.
It's put them up. It's actually made the children basically almost like prey for the wolves, and it's got to stop.
You know, it's funny. Our government is all in favor of newborn children. And then they don't want to know a thing about them until they turn 18 and they can send them off to war.
Yep, or to prison.
Or to prison.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Dean. We'll be talking to you soon.
All right, y'all. Good night.
All right, bye.
Good night, Dean. What an awesome man.
Dean is one of a kind. He's been a good friend of mine for a lot of years. He's done these programs for all these years. They have him as a part of Baker Institute. They've archived all his programs. Are we ready for another break? Oh, keep going. Okay.
Very fortunate to have Mr. Becker on the show.
He's he would have been here tonight, except that that his furnace went out.
Aww.
Hello. Good evening. You got a comment for us?
Yes, I do. I want to know if marijuana should be legal and beer should be legalized. Well, it is legalized, but I think marijuana would be better be legal than beer, because beer causes death like liver cancer, and marijuana doesn't. Marijuana just makes you relax and have a good time with your friends, you know?
Yep, we agree. Thank you for your comment. Alcohol, I think Dean just set that number, was 400,000 a year that alcohol directly kills.
I have a very close friend that just passed away a few months ago from a liver disease because of alcohol, and I was very heartbroken about that.
Nobody's ever died from marijuana.
That's true. It's much safer.
We all know somebody here. His name is Al Robertson. He's a doctor. He was a doctor of pharmacology.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's awesome.
When he lived in Canada, he did an experiment with cannabis, and he found that it would take 63 grams of direct IV injection in order for marijuana to kill you. We're ready for another break. Here we go.
The whole idea of a drug-free America and zero tolerance really doesn't make much sense, does it? So it does make sense, however, to find ways to reduce the harms associated with drugs. And that's what I want to talk about.
to start thinking about whether it is really laws that make the difference on whether people use drugs or not.
Al Capone didn't shoot people because he was intoxicated.
Right, exactly.
Those people are not fighting over drugs, they're fighting over money.
Drug laws have no basis in science. Drug laws are based on politics and money.
So there's this unholy symbiosis between, on the one hand, those who are selling illegal drugs, the drug lords, if you will, and on the other side, the drug warriors.
War on drugs isn't working, and that, if anything, is just making what we call the drug problem a lot worse.
It's time to play Name That Drug by its side effects. Nausea, heartburn, development of bleeding ulcers, vomiting, swelling of the brain, extensive liver damage, difficulty with mental functioning, Reyes syndrome, and death. Time's up. The answer, aspirin, another FDA-approved product.
You're watching the Drug, Crime, and Politics show. I need less business. Help change the laws. Fewer people locked up for this foolishness will help all of us.
Ray Hill.
Here we are. We're back again. Next thing I was thinking and talking about is, you know, there, as well as the land routes coming into the United States for all the illegal drugs, they're coming in with a lot of routes from marine. Last year, they confiscated on the water 90 tons of cocaine. 90 tons. $3.5 billion that they just flushed. If they can afford to get let $3.5 billion, 90 tons of cocaine to be taken out of the system, there's got to be a hell of a lot of cocaine coming into this country.
Which is a very sad thing because cocaine is so addictive and it just really can take a person down.
Of course it can.
And it's, you know, I know people that are victims of this drug war that we did not ask for, and I know people that have lost everything because of cocaine, but I don't know anybody that's lost their life or anything because of cannabis.
I've got a lot of friends that have lost their lives from cocaine and heroin. I know a lot of people that have died from it.
It's a very sad thing.
It is. It's really a sad thing because it's totally a different high than it is with cannabis. It's
well, with it being illegal and no real oversight of it, then these drugs are made in labs that are not like your nice laboratory. They're cut with we don't know what, and they're distributed to our children, and then, you know, I mean, once our children get a taste of this or that, it's just not a very easy thing to see happening to the youth of this country, and all the things that go along with that as well.
Well, one day our elected officials will actually listen to us.
I hope so. I hope so. Maybe somebody's listening now. If you are one of the leaders of this great state of Texas, please do something to change the cannabis laws. I mean, make it legal. Give us some real hope.
Here, I'd like to talk about one thing that'll give us hope. In 2 years, we have a new legislative session. I am going to propose a way to do a demonstration at the same time as we have a legislative session in. What I would like to do is get a piece of property and invite every disabled person down to that piece of property up in Austin. And we'll camp out there for the whole legislative session, and half the people will go see our legislators in the morning, and the second half will go in the afternoon.
I like that idea a lot.
And they will be there through the whole legislative session. It won't be a legislative day or a lobby day for us. It'll be a lobby session. It'll be the whole legislative session, the whole 120 days that we are there, talking to our representatives and inviting other people down to come join us. That is my idea of how we, the people, can break this state and make them do what we want them to do.
And, you know, we're just talking about the plant here, for goodness sake. It's a much safer way to relax than alcohol. When people don't stop drinking their alcohol, and it just, you know, there's a lot of pictures of people just, you know, like naked on the floor, and they don't even know it because they're so drunk. They're blind drunk. But that doesn't happen with cannabis.
No, it doesn't. But a drunk is a drunk is a drunk is a drunk. I mean, somebody who's a smoker, they usually aren't the drunk type.
That's correct, and that's what I would like our representatives to understand, that cannabis is not something that should be illegal. And I'd like to see all drugs taken out of the hands of the drug lords so that our children are much safer. It'll make a difference in Mexico, it'll make a difference here, but Texas really needs to get on the bandwagon.
Well,
do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah,
about the boot camp or anything?
Boot camp. Boot camp. Well, I would like to invite everybody to, if they have any thoughts on my way of doing a protest or demonstration, I sure would like to get in touch with you. I would like you to get in touch with me. We have our email site here at the Drug, Crime, and Politics. We can sit down and talk a meeting about it.
That sounds good. And I don't know how much time we have left, but do we have time for one call somehow? No? The number is 713-807-1794. Please call in if you have a question or a comment. We would love to have that. Just please call in quickly.
Yeah, you get a minute left.
713-807-1794.
You're on the air, Drug, Crime, and Politics.
All right, yes, okay. I know I called earlier, but we really need to legalize marijuana.
I agree.
It is the way. It is the way.
I agree. We have been all trying to do that for several years.
Yes, but I think if I should start a petition, or whatever it's called, petition in school, that we should legalize marijuana in high school.
Well, sorry you can't do that. Thank you, and we appreciate your call. Okay, you've been listening to Drugs, Crime, and Politics. We'll be here in 2 weeks. Normal meeting will be when is our normal meeting? When's our next normal meeting? Do you know? Do you have the date on that?
We have these private prisons that have now hired lobbyists to go get minimum mandatory review.
I began to understand that the 17 or the 19-year-old kid I had in the backseat of my police car was not a criminal at all.
Remove the profit motive. If you remove the profit motive, you can do